Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. And I'm laughing because we just had a little bit of, I get a little impatient in the beginning, and I'm like, when are we starting? Today I'm super excited, and I say, do I not say that anymore? Because I am so excited about all my guests. But anyway, I'm probably just going to say it every time. So you guys are just going to have to get used to the fact that I am so excited about everybody that I bring on. But today is special because Diane Titterton, who is the owner of Time to Flourish UK, and she's my mindfulness coach. And if you were listening to the episode, maybe like 2 or 3 episodes ago when we were talking about me not throwing my phone anymore, this is why. It's because of my work with Diane. So I'm going to read her bio, and then we'll bring Diane on. So Diane is a mindfulness meditation coach who works with busy professionals and entrepreneurs to help them to master their mindset to achieve more, worry less, and find more happiness. She helps people go from stressed and overwhelmed, I can attest to that, to calm and contented, a place where there is always enough time and energy for the things that you love. Diane is no stranger to the demands of juggling different responsibilities. Coming from a background in corporate and being an entrepreneur for 11 years, Diane jointly invented a product and took it from concept to the shelves of major retailers in the UK, Europe, and the USA, while also raising 2 children and looking after a husband, home, and pets. Diane's personal passion is connecting with family, friends, pets, nature, and she spends every day building memories and a life with few regrets. Working with clients as a mindfulness coach enables her to fit more of this into her life and to share all that she has learned along the way. And it's true. Every time we have a session, she'll bring in some of her personal experiences. There's nothing better than hearing that clients have banished their negative thoughts and made space in their life to connect with their passions, and now have the mindset to create and store positive, happy memories. Her other passion is discovery, traveling to new places, and learning new things, especially anything associated with health, wellness, and happiness. Oh, and good food and wine. And I can attest to that because Diane and I have what we call Wine Fridays or wine mindfulness. We try to do it once a month, and it's a lot of fun, which is something perpetually on her mind. So without further ado, let's meet Diane. Hi. I gave our Wine Friday secret away.
Yeah, I was going to say sometimes it's Wine Thursday or Wine Wednesday.
Wine Thursday. It would have been Wine Thursday yesterday if not for the continuous Schuyler saga.
Yeah, no, there's something nice about appreciating nice foods and wine and taking the time to enjoy it as well.
Oh yeah. And I'm, being from New York, and we've had this discussion, I'm a food snob and I love good food.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So since we didn't do Wine Thursday yesterday, I know that did you have one for me like I asked you to?
No, I didn't actually. In the end, I didn't. I decided I was going to save it up for tonight and do Wine Friday.
There you go.
Very good. Yeah, I went to yoga instead. How about that?
Okay. I was supposed to have yoga today, but I moved it to next week. But because we're doing this. But so mindfulness. Tell us a little bit about mindfulness. I know my journey, which, the joke is I don't throw phones anymore. Let's just be real. I threw the phone once. So, I just want to get that out there. But, let's talk about, when you started mindfulness, when mindfulness kind of came into your life and when you knew that, this was something that you wanted to practice.
So I first started it actually, but by accident. It was through antenatal yoga. So when I was pregnant with my eldest daughter, I went along to one of the local antenatal classes and just saw a poster up on the wall for antenatal yoga and thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. a lot of the yoga, it was movement, but there was a lot about meditation as well. There was a lot about breathing, all geared towards pregnancy and to birth, and working towards having a natural birth, so without any heavy pain relief, using your mindset and using your breathing to control the pain, which I found completely fascinating. The whole idea of it really fascinated me, that we could have that power over our body. So I found that was really interesting. It worked for me. I can't say it was easy, but it worked. And then after having my daughter, I still used the meditations to help, because I wasn't sleeping well with the newborn. And I'd heard my yoga teacher, and it's something I still tell clients now, 20 minutes of deep meditation, so yoga nidra is what we were doing, is equivalent to 2 hours of deep sleep. And that in itself was life-changing, because rather than then lying awake at night feeding my baby thinking, oh, I'm losing all this sleep, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow, and getting really stressed about not sleeping, I just kept thinking I can make this up. And it did. It helped as well, just having that 20 minutes during the day while the baby was asleep, that I could then use that. So I found the whole area very empowering. I loved the way that it meant I could take control of my health and my well-being. And it was very preventative as well. It was about building up good health. And I just kept doing it because I felt amazing. Every time I did it, every day I would do it, and I would just feel just calmer. It's a funny balance. You feel calm and yet energized. And I loved that balance. I felt that I had the energy to do things, but it wasn't a sort of frantic, hectic energy that sometimes you get if you really sort of wind yourself up to do things. And I used it then all through when I was working. So I then had I didn't work when my children were first born. I didn't work for about 3 years. And then I went back into doing voluntary work for the Prince's Trust over here. So that was helping small businesses who had just recently set up, helping entrepreneurs. And then after that, I went back, and that's when I started my own business. And I needed the mindfulness to help me balance working full time, looking after my children, and running a house as well, because both my husband and I were working full time, but a lot of the responsibility, and he was very good, he was very supportive and took on a lot to do with the children, but the responsibility for it was all mine. So I needed to try and do something to look after myself. And I see that with so many women now, they put themselves last. There's no time for self-care, they're the bottom of the pile. And that's something that I think mindfulness is a really good way to empower people to take care of themselves without needing to spend 2 hours. And I was never interested in that. The idea when you see the yogis or the real meditators where they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and meditate for 3 hours before dawn, that's not my bag at all. I wouldn't even sit on the floor. I like to be comfortable in a chair. This is definitely Western, easy mindfulness.
Right.
That
what you have me doing is whenever we're always, and it is easier, right? It's easier because I don't know. I mean, I find it easier. And in the mornings when I do get to meditate, I have that little, the doggy bed in the bathroom that I sit down on and, lean against the tub and do my mindfulness or my meditation there when I get a chance to do it. But
yeah, so, and I'm still doing it now. Well, I'd say every day as much as I can. I'll do meditation on a daily basis. And I know when I've not done it. I think that's the difference you notice when you haven't done it.
See, and that's the point that I want to get to, is where I'm doing it so consistently. You had this thing from May that the May challenge to do mindfulness and, meditation every day. And I was doing well there for a while, and then I didn't. And so, but I do find that, when we have our weekly sessions and everything, that and you're like, remember this feeling. And I'm like, I know. Because it's such an amazing feeling. It's, it takes all of the frantic out.
Yeah.
And especially for a couple of months there, I was having a pretty frantic time. And the night before, it was so funny because the night before we did our first podcast, I started freaking out because I was like, I don't have an outro. I don't have anything to say at the end of it. And I called up my friend Michelle. Actually, I texted her because she's always so, busy and whatever. And I'm like, where are you? She's like, in my garage. I'm like, call me. And I was like, I need to figure out an outro. And she's almost like a therapist. It's like, you're in therapy and they're like, the answer lies within you. And you're like, oh, screw you. Just give me the answer. That's what I'm here for. And they're like, no, you're here to,
do the work.
Do the work and figure it out. And so we came up with all of these different things. And then I was like, ooh, spark, flame. It has to do with something with the spark and the flame. And then that's how I came up with the, what lights your fire thing. But I was so frantic, knowing that, we were going to be filming this thing. And after I got off the phone with her, I was like, I need to breathe. And so I did my breathing, and the breathing really helps. I mean, it takes you from this like, minute into a, Zen.
Yeah. Take a breath.
Where,
almost really old fashioned advice, isn't it? And what you say to children when they're getting
10 or whatever, right?
Yeah. And it's true, though, it just gives your body a chance to calm down. Breathing's excellent because when you get into that stress response, it's very difficult to tell yourself to calm down. But when you do a breathing exercise, your body tells your mind to calm down. So it like short circuits that. So it's so much more powerful. You're sort of going in at it the other way. Then your body calms down, and then your body just sends all the signals up to the brain that, we're safe, we're okay. And then you can calm. But apparently the fastest way to calm your body down is to lie completely flat on the floor.
Yeah, you were saying that, or the bed or something. And I did that. When did I do that? Was that last week? Something was going on. I can't remember. And I was like, oh, wait. She said to lay down. So I laid down. Oh, it was something with Skylar, with her eye.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that has just been so incredibly stressful, but I think we're finally getting there. But for those of you listening or just listening now, Skylar is our 1-year-old puppy, and she's just had a hell of a time with her cherry eye. Anyway, it's been stressful. But I got home and I closed the door because I knew if I didn't close the door, I was going to have puppies on me. And I laid there for, I think, like 10 minutes, and I just kind of sunk into the bed and let that energy go. And it was amazing. It was just like so freeing, and you almost feel the stress leaving your body and like going into the mattress, right? It's just like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good visualization to use actually as you're doing it, to imagine that coming out. That just adds to it, doesn't it? You get extra power.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what, gosh, I know you've been doing this a while. What made you become an entrepreneur? Like, what was the impetus for you to be like, I just want to.
I think I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I can remember when I was very young, my gran was one of 4 girls, and they were also born in the 1920s, early 20s, maybe even a bit before that. And I can remember all the stories about these 4 very strong, independent women, which was quite something in those days, because I was hearing those stories in the sort of late 70s. And one of them had her own business, and the other one had travelled the world. And I was just so inspired by all these stories. And I always had this urge to have my own business. I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to have like something like a coffee shop, or to do something along those lines. But I ended up I love business. So I studied business at university, or college as you call it, running university. So I did business economics. And I remember discovering that and thinking, this is so easy. Why have I wasted so many years trying to do things like maths and science when business is just common sense? I was like, this is amazing. I can do this without even really trying. So that was great when I discovered that. So it was business economics and marketing that I did. And loved that. And I went into corporate afterwards. I took a very sort of normal sort of route from university then into a graduate training program from there, and went a big blue chip and worked there for about 6 years. And I loved that, actually. I loved corporate. I learned a lot. It was a great time to go in and work in corporate. And I think it's taught me a lot of skills that I still use now in my business. Working for a big organization, you had to get used to things like processes, all the red tape, recording things, and sort of going through all the sort of the project management, meeting management, taking minutes, agendas, all these things actually are quite good discipline to get in and to have for your own business. So I loved that at the time, but I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do forever. And when I left, so the way it worked, I actually ended up spending 6 months in the US, in Portland, in Oregon. The company I worked for had merged with another company in Oregon, Pacificor, and went over and I worked on the transition team over there for 6 months. And that was amazing. I loved that. Got to travel all around the States every weekend. We'd just pack our carry-on luggage.
Right.
And just go and see all these amazing places. So that was fantastic. But then at the time, just as I was getting married, actually returned and got married, and my husband got offered a job down. I'm from Glasgow in Scotland, and he got offered a job in the Midlands in England. So at that stage, we knew we were wanting to have a family. So we thought, I'll stop work, we'll have our kids quickly. And thankfully it all worked out. And then I didn't work for 3 years while I had my 2 children, 16 months apart. So it was quite that was the sort of the decision I'd taken. I'd rather take a bit of time out, end it completely with them, but then to be able to go back into work, because I think I was always quite ambitious to go back. And when I went back, I started off doing voluntary work, and then it was because I was then helping other entrepreneurs. So that was what role I was in. I was advising them, and I remember thinking, I want to be them. That's what I want to be doing. And I thought, hang on, if I'm advising, someone trusts me and has employed me to advise someone else, they obviously think I've got the skills and the capability to do it. So I've just got to go for it. So at that stage, I then went about looking for the perfect business and what was I going to do as my business. So I had a friend out in Hong Kong. So I flew out to Hong Kong, stayed with her. We went into China. There was a massive import-export fair every year in China. So we basically spent 2 days going around this fair looking for products that we could import to the UK. But it was really disappointing, actually, because it was all the products that you see in department stores, supermarkets, all the retailers. There was nothing new. There was nothing different. So I knew that there's no way me as one person, even like teaming up with my friends out there, the two of us couldn't do it economically. We couldn't make it pay and compete against supermarkets and big retailers. So that was a bit of a non-starter. And as these things do work out, fate intervenes, and I found myself sitting next to someone at a dinner party the following week, having dinner with them. And she said she just had an idea for a new product. Her son was having issues. He was about 3. He was having issues potty training, and he was basically it sounds, I know it's not the nicest topic to talk about, but it's reality. He was having overflow incontinence, so he was basically messing his pants 16 times a day. And she was just spending every day constantly changing pants, and she wanted to put him back in nappies or diapers. And the health visitor said, that's the worst thing you can do. He's potty trained. This isn't about potty training. You need to keep him in pants and underwear. And so she tried to buy a product that she could put in. She was looking for a disposable pad to put in to protect the clothing and to make it easier to change them. And it didn't exist. The only thing that existed actually was a washable pad. And she was a bit like, why would you want to wash?
Yeah, that's gross. Yeah.
So he had this idea that she would like the idea of developing something for her needs. They do say necessity is the mother of all invention for a reason. And so I had Amy on a previous episode, and we were trying to
get that saying. We're like, what is it? Mother is the necessity. So that's just so funny that you bring it up, because it's so true. So many things are invented out of necessity. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, you see the gap then. That's the thing, because you then see the gap, and you know what you need. So Jude and I said, we're going to give it 3 months. So we thought, we'll give it 3 months, see what happens. Started cutting up sanitary pads, basically, to create a pattern. Did our own pattern, filed it all with the patent office. Apparently it was so appalling, our patent, that it was actually good, because we kept it so wide that the lawyer said, this is terrible, but it's great for me because you've left it, it's bad enough that I can fix it. So but we just got started, and 3 months later we said, right, we're going to keep going, we're going to give it another 3 months. And we ended up, I think it was about a year later, getting some funding to develop it all, to get to proof of concept stage. And then we tested it and managed to get some investment from a company, managed to find a manufacturer, and started developing the product. Then took it to the retailers in the UK, first of all. I managed to get listing with, at one stage we had all 5 of the major retailers that we managed to get listings with. And we continued that business for, it was 11 years all in all. Actually, we went through another round of funding, so we had quite a considerable amount of funding. We went to Europe, so we were selling in South Africa, we were selling in Ireland, we were selling in mainland Europe through Amazon.
So how did that look, as far as, because you came up with the concept, right? So did that become like almost a corporate atmosphere again, except when you guys running it, or were you running around selling the product, or how did that?
So it was really, Jude and I were the only 2 full-time employees, and we decided that we wanted to set it up that way. We didn't want a big operation. So what we did was we actually employed a lot of other mums that were on maternity, or that had kids and didn't want to go back into corporate. And I think this is a huge untapped market, because there's so many professional women that find it difficult to juggle having kids and working. So they end up leaving, because there's I think it's getting better now, but at that stage there wasn't a huge amount of opportunity for flexibility in the workplace.
Right.
So we recognised that there was a huge amount of people we just knew in our own network around the school gates that were actually incredibly talented women, very capable, very driven, to get their work done between 9 and 3 and to be back to pick the kids up from school. So a lot of our business was actually based on building a network of these kind of people. And then we had like marketing companies, we had lawyers, we had our manufacturer also distributed it, so all the operations were outsourced as well. So our main role was really managing everything and doing the selling, so going in and speaking to buyers and the retailers, managing the investors as well, because that was a full-time job in itself. Raising investment and looking after them, making sure that we were delivering on what we'd said we would. Wow,
that sounds like a movie. That sounds like it should be a movie, right? I mean, 2 women, come up with this concept, and then they bring it from concept to market, and these moms, moms are working from home, helping.
Yeah. It was amazing, actually, because my children never actually realised that I worked, because they used to say, "Oh, mum doesn't work because she's there to pick us up after school." And it was this perception that I was a stay-at-home mum. There was people at school. I remember speaking to some of the other mums at school. They didn't realise I worked, and so I'd spend the day like speaking to corporate buyers, going to London, pitching to investors, Shark Tank style, and then get back and standing at the school gates. And it was quite bizarre. I quite liked that.
Wow. Okay, this should be, anybody listening out there, we need to make a movie out of this. I'm just going to throw that.
Well, I have to say, actually, because like any great movie, then it all turns, because we did actually have a huge amount of bad luck. And that ended up really was where we recognised that we'd taken the business as far as we could. Our investors were amazing. They invested a lot of money. But the trouble, what we did, a bit of an issue, and that we were a victim of our own success. because our product, it was for potty training as well, but it actually worked a bit too well. So the product would help accelerate potty training. And so people would only buy one box and it would work, it would fix their problem. So we didn't make enough.
That's like when I managed myself out of a job once. Yeah, I kind of.
So that was a little bit, but that was a bit of an issue. And also it was a very competitive market. So there was a huge amount of competition. So the buyers expected us to be doing continual discounts. So there wasn't a lot of margin in it. The nappies, the diapers are very much commoditized over here. So we had to compete against that. So it was quite harsh market conditions for us. And we were a small supplier. It was a niche product. Whereas you think diapers, people are in them for 3-4 years. They were only in them for 2 weeks. And there was a huge amount of education needed as well because of the churn in the market was so much. So we had to spend a huge amount on marketing. And actually it worked. We did a TV commercial and we got a sort of 3 times increase overnight in our sales. It was phenomenal.
Wow.
The success we got from it. But we couldn't keep repeating it. It was just too expensive to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a lot. And it was a change in habit. And as you know, in marketing, when you're trying to get people to change a habit, you have to work even harder with what you're showing them, what to say. It's not easy.
Was it 7 or 10 touches?
Yeah.
What changes them? So when that ended, because that sounds like just a hell of an adventure, and I knew about part of that, I didn't know all of it. When that ended, did you just decide that you were going to do mindfulness, or did something just kind of?
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to do it. I think before that, I knew I wanted to do mindfulness because I'd already recognized that Dry Like Me, the name of the company we were in before, we weren't going to be in that forever. I think as well, I felt it was the entrepreneurial part that really appealed to me. It was the setting something up. I have to be completely honest and say potty training was not my passion.
Sorry.
Business, setting up a business, inventing a product, going through all the processes, that was my passion. So once it was all set up and we had an operational business, I was a bit like, feel like we've taken it as far as we can. Mm-hmm. We're ready to hand it over to someone else. So I was already at that stage looking forward to what I wanted to do next. And I knew next time I wanted to combine my passion for being in business, having a business, and something I love doing. And the thing that I loved doing was mindfulness. And I had already started, just because I was so interested in learning more about it, I'd already started doing courses and online courses. I'd read so many books, listened to podcasts. So it was a very natural fit and move to then to progress into that. And I started as well, everything I was learning about it, every time I learned something, I thought that could help this person. I know that could help them. That would be really good for them. So I started teaching it to friends on an informal basis and saying, right, come on, you come round and we'll spend a couple of hours. I'll show you this. I'll show you these tools. So I was doing it before I actually made the conscious decision to do it. So as soon as the business sold, I knew that this is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to be doing. So I haven't looked back.
Well, yeah. I mean, the cool thing about what you do is because you were in corporate, you get the stresses and you get all of, or the stressors, and you've been there, so you understand, what business people go through, the stresses that they have, the expectations that they put on themselves. My wife, somebody else, it's in our group, and it's because you've seen it and lived it, it gives you this understanding that not many people have on that end. So I remember when I first came to you, I was for me, it was more personal, I think, than business in the beginning. And then it became business because everything kind of shifted. But, and when I saw how much, you helped me, then we know that, my wife was going through some stuff, and it was like, you need to talk to you. And she's so funny because, she's an engineer and she doesn't like change. And you all, you know this. And it was like, I'm like, you need to talk to Diane. I don't know if I believe in that stuff. I'm like, just talk to her. And then finally, she did, and she's never looked back. I mean, she looks forward to talking to you. You're part of the family now at this point. And I mean, you and I have become such good friends, but because our sessions aren't, I'm sure our sessions are probably different than anybody else. Because Diane and I have ADHD, as we all know. We've ascertained that. And so we just talk. And then she pulls me back in and, okay, right, let's meditate, and we do. But you just have this really easy way about you that is really, it makes it easy and it makes it really comfortable to work with you, because you're just, and your voice is so soothing, you just have this when you're doing the meditation, it's this very soothing voice, and your accent helps, which, obviously, as we learned, I can't duplicate that. I tried and I really failed, but
you do Oliver twist.
What?
You do a good Oliver twist.
Good Oliver twist, but I suck at the Scottish stuff. Which is really funny because, everything you do is also on this, and, I'm not a religious woman, but there is a spirituality to it. There's this feeling that it's soul work. It's like you're working on, working with you and working with the mindfulness. It's like it soothes your soul. Yeah.
I think it's taking away a lot of the noise and the busyness that is in our everyday life. And when we can get rid of that, we do, I think, feel a bit more connected to ourselves. When I speak to a lot of people about stress, they say that they don't feel themselves. They feel disconnected to their body. They don't even recognize who they are. And I think that's really sad. And they find it difficult to connect with other people around them as well. And I think taking away some of the busyness and giving people a little bit of time and space to connect inwardly with themselves is a really good way to start getting back to the way we're meant to be, to the being, rather than constantly doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I never knew it before. Like before we started working together, I didn't realize the disconnect. I've felt that twice. There was once a friend of mine was like, we need to go to Barbados. And I'm like, why do we need to go to Barbados? But I was so very frenetic. And I never, in my life at that time, I was like 32. I never knew what calm felt like and what centered felt like. And I didn't know that. And we landed in Barbados. And I don't know if something clicked in my brain, and we didn't have cell phones back then, so it's a while ago. But I don't know if it was the knowledge that I am completely disconnected and no one can get hold of me unless they have the number to the hotel room. But this feeling came over me that it was like alien to me. And I looked at my best friend, Gail, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have this feeling of, I guess I feel," she goes, "You're calm?" And I went, "Yeah,
It's like, what is this feeling?"
Yes. And then, life goes on and everything. And we're in the middle of, selling our house and buying a new house and all that other happy crap. And, the pandemic, this was in June of 2020, July of 2020. And it was just, I was already out of my mind because I did not do well with the pandemic, being, stuck in my house and not able to go out. And then with all the crap that was going on with the sale of the house and buying a new house and everything, it was just it just got to be too much. And then I hit that fateful moment when I threw my phone, on the ground. And I think it probably took a good 3 months I felt a difference the first time we worked together, but I think the consistency of it and being consistent with it was what made it different. And here we are 2.5 years later.
Yeah.
And it's like in me. I don't meditate all the time. And I know I need to be better with that, but the actual mindfulness, the actual practice that when I get so pissed off at something, instead of it ruining my whole day or my whole week, I give it 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Or I give it 10 minutes, 10 minutes if it's something really, whatever, but I control it. Like it doesn't control me anymore. And when you said to me that, when you said that to me, you're like, you're controlling it. I was like, oh shit, I am.
Yeah. And that's
And
awareness of something, you can control it. If you don't, it controls you. And that's when you end up reacting and doing things that you later regret.
Like throwing phones and
stuff
like that. Yeah. But so you, so the people that you're working with now, are all of them business people? Do you have some people that are working in the private sector as well? Or is it just,
I've got a few entrepreneurs. It tends to be mainly professional people. Actually, my profile of my customers tends to be high achievers.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are good at what they do. A lot of them are the sort of engineer, left brain type person. They work really hard. Perfectionist tendencies. Yes. Know anyone like this, Iris?
I might know one person. Actually, now two.
Yeah.
We need to get them in, like, on a session together or in a room together. That would be interesting.
And it's because we always think of perfectionists as being people who like things to be perfect, and isn't it? It's a blessing that you're a perfectionist. But actually, it's really hard, because being a perfectionist means you're going above and beyond what is good for you, putting yourself in harm and in danger, and not knowing how to look after yourself because you're striving, and you're causing yourself a lot of suffering because of what's going on in your mind. And that's where imposter syndrome comes in as well. So many people suffer from imposter syndrome. And
that's like the phrase this year is imposter syndrome. That's just like the buzzword, and it's so true. It's when we doubt ourselves, right? And we're like,
all the stories we're telling ourselves. And again, like you were saying about, it's if we don't have awareness of those stories that are going on in our mind, and we keep repeating them over and over, and every time we repeat them in our mind, we believe them, and that belief gets stronger, and we cause even more suffering to ourselves. It's completely unnecessary, and we're using up so much energy as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, I work with a wide range of ages as well. I thought originally that it might be younger people, but actually a lot of older people have exactly the same issues. And it's really interesting. I remember there was one particular day last year, I went into school, worked with a group of 15-year-old girls in a school, and then did a session with an older man who was in his late 50s. And the things I talked about were exactly the same to both of them.
Wow.
Both struggling. And it's all about what goes on in our head, those negative thoughts, on all this, the self-talk, what we tell ourselves, the stories we're telling ourselves. And if we can master that, we take away so much unnecessary stress, anxiety, suffering, and free up all this energy for all the good things, and start to rewire ourselves for positivity. Because we are naturally biased towards negativity. That's what keeps us safe, and that's what makes sure we don't take unnecessary risks, and that's okay. And I think part of the trouble is we still have the same equipment that our ancestors that were roaming around the plains of Africa hunting and gathering. It's the same equipment. So you think if you buy a 2,000-year-old house, the roof's going to leak. There's going to be some issues.
Right.
With our equipment.
It's true. I mean, new home ownership. Anyway, that's story.
We can't scrap it and start again. We've got to just work with what we've got, and we are. Yes. So but understanding that, and what I find with a lot of people I work with, when I can explain the reason you feel like that is because your brain is thinking this and it's trying to keep you safe and it's doing this for this reason. And when they realize that, they think, oh, I'm normal. I can understand it. But now that I know that, that puts me in control, and I can listen to that. I can accept what's going on, but I decide how I'm going to respond and whether I actually listen to that or not. So I think it's hugely empowering, and that's what I love doing. I love seeing people losing some of that negativity, losing some of that worry, the stress, and actually then being able to have a bit more self-confidence as well in themselves and going for things. So not worrying if they make mistakes, if things aren't perfect.
I mean, it's okay, because we're all, I remember we did that emotion wheel, right? Yeah. And it was like, how did you feel 3 months ago? How do you feel now? How did you know, feeling negative? How do you feel? And when you see that, I remember when, you know, I saw it on screen, it was like, wow. Yeah. That, you know, some of the negative and the positive are really, you know, intertwined. And I think the best part about the mindfulness practice is that you regain power over your time and over your emotions. Because what happens, you know, we're in a situation where, and we've all been there, right? We all get angry. And some of us, you know, let it ruin our week. Like I remember I would, oh my God, something would piss me off and it would take me like 3 days to shake it easily. And I would be cranky and I'd be like, you know, whatever. And, you know, and it affects your home life, because, you know, I have a wife who works all day long, you know, 40 minutes drive to work, 40 minutes, you know, drive home. And then when, you know, she deals with a whole bunch of shit all day long. And when she gets home, and then here I am all frustrated, she doesn't get away from all of the stress. Right. And I really worked hard to get to the point that when she comes home, that she comes home to calm, not to more stress. So it gives her a break. And that was, for me, the impetus to go, okay, you know, I need to get better at this. And I have. And I mean, don't get, you know, I still get mad.
Me too.
You know, like I was saying this week, I really, like when we couldn't do our mindfulness yesterday, I was like, son of a bitch, I really need it this week, you know, because this was a really stressful week. And
that's okay. I think it's okay to get mad. It's okay to be angry. It's using that and channeling it. Mindfulness isn't about taking away all the negative emotions and saying we've got to be nice, we've got to be kind, we've got to think nice thoughts about everyone else. That's nonsense. We're human. We do have judgments. It's not getting attached onto all of these and staying in control of the response to them. That's the difference. And I think you bounce back quicker. So I still get angry. I still get mad at something going on, but I stop myself much faster now.
Yes.
And it doesn't bother me, and I bounce back and I'll think to myself, oh, that was a bit funny, or that was a bit feisty thinking that.
Right. And that's exactly what happens with me now. It's like I get mad, but it's like, okay, we're done. You know, it's not worth ruining the rest of the whatever. And so you know, for somebody who's thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, they're in their job, they're unhappy, or they have the entrepreneurial spirit, because not everybody does, right? I mean, it's funny because I've run into, in the past probably 2 months, 5 people that were like, I want to start my own business and I want to do this and I want to do this. And they did not have the entrepreneurial spirit. And I don't know how to explain it, but there was just something in there that was like, oh, that is probably not going to be a good idea for you.
No.
You know, there are some people that can do it and there are some people that can't. It's, you know, there's like a certain amount of discipline. There's a certain amount of what's the word? Not confidence, but almost, I think sometimes it's almost, and I hate to say this, but like hubris, where, you know, you have to be a little cocky, because if you're not a little cocky, right? And and I used to like, she would like laugh at me, you know, because like I would make like a big sale and be like, oh yeah, who's the shit? That's right. It's me. And then if I didn't have a sale, I'd be like, oh my God, I suck ass. So it goes from like one, you know, one extreme to the other. And it's like, if you can't handle that kind of, you know, a roller coaster kind of thing, then I don't think it's for you, because there's going to be a lot of it. Right. Yeah, and I actually told them that. I'm like, it is not, you know, they're like, woohoo, I'm going to be my own boss, and woohoo, I'm going to make my own hours. And, you know, everything is going to be sunshine and roses. And it's like, no, there are going to be struggles. You are not going to have the freedom in the beginning that you think you have, because you may not be working for a corporation, but you're working for your clients, and you have deadlines that you have to meet, right? Depending on the type of business. But, you know, your business, you have deadlines.
Yeah, definitely. And responsibilities. And I always have to answer to someone. And particularly in our last business, when we had investors, I felt even more responsibility to that than I did having a boss. So actually, sometimes it's harder being an entrepreneur. You can't just leave. Right. You can't hand your notice in and say, that's it, I'm done. Especially if someone's given you their hard-earned cash to invest in your business, you can't turn around and say, I'm done now. Right. So you think this is very often a real long-term commitment. So I think, ask, why are you starting a business? What's your why? What's your reason for doing it? And does this reason light your fire? Because you need so much fire in your belly to be an entrepreneur, because it does get hard. Everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much, and you make half as much as you expect. So do your business planning. If you can half your revenue and double how long it's going to take you and it still works, then do it. If it doesn't, make sure you've got a plan B in place. So that might be things like, don't leave your job immediately, go part-time, or keep working and keep this as a bit of a side hustle while you just get all your plans in place. Do your homework. Definitely speak to as many people as you can. Get as much advice as you can from other people. Just absorb as much knowledge. Because most entrepreneurs, they know their core subject really well, but they don't necessarily know how to run a business. They don't know how to keep accounts, bookkeeping, don't know how to do marketing. And these things look easy. How many people say to me, oh yeah, I can do marketing? It's like watching the adverts in the TV doesn't make me a marketer.
That's not marketing. And people don't get the value of marketing for their company. That's what kind of blows my mind. It's like, it just literally makes me go, that is the most important thing that you can do when you're starting out, is you have to invest in your marketing, because if you don't market, people aren't going to know who the hell you are.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't get it. Some people don't get it. And I've gotten to the point that, you know, rather than being negative about it, like they just don't understand it, because one of the women in a group that I'm in yesterday did this post on LinkedIn, and it was about how we post about our services in a negative way, like, you're not doing it right, but if you do it with me, you'll be doing it right. Yeah. So we don't do it consciously, like, we're not trying to berate somebody, but at the end of the day, that's what we are doing. So, you know, it's like, how do you come at that from a different mindset? And it's like, in order for you to really help yourself, and to help your business and your brand, you need to market. Because when you market, then people, if you market correctly, you know, people will see you, they will hear of you, they will get to know your product and you, especially if you're an entrepreneur and it's a small business, they're going to want to work with you. It's like, you know, I do videos on LinkedIn, and I need to get back into it. I'm going to start doing that again next week. But when I was doing those videos, and the same thing with you, people want to work with you. They don't, you know, it's like the product is great, but they want to work with you because they trust you through video, through your conversation, through your marketing. they learn to know, like, and trust you. And those are the people that we're going to be more inclined to work with, are the people that we know, like, and trust, rather than the people that we don't.
Yeah, they're the people we're willing to give our hard-earned money to.
Yep.
And that's where, and I guess that's what the point of marketing is, that people choose you and they're willing to pay above what they'll pay other people as well.
Right. And it's value. It's like an investment. But any service, I think, for any small business, any service that you use to help your company, whether it's marketing, traditional marketing, digital marketing, whatever it is, it's an investment. Yeah. And when you look at it as an investment as opposed to an expense, everything changes.
Yeah.
Because now you're investing into your business. The $20 lunch that, you may do once a week for a year, 20 times, 52, that's a couple of $1,000, right? Yeah. You take that and you put it towards, one piece of marketing, for your company. I think the stat is you're supposed to take 10 to 15% of your profit and put that towards marketing. And then I saw something else the other day that was really funny. Somebody said, did you know that 86% of stats are made up? Which I thought was awesome. But so, take that with a grain of salt. But you should, whether it's 10% of your profit or whatever it is of your profit, you really should take, a piece of that and put it towards, your marketing.
And even before that as well, I think there's something to be said about investing your revenue, even if you're not making profit. The fastest way to make profit is to invest in marketing to grow your profit. Because I think that's a mistake we made in our last business, actually, with hindsight, looking back. We waited too long before we started doing major marketing, before we started employing big marketing agencies and doing campaigns. If we'd done that from the beginning, we would have got more traction, we would have grown faster, and we could possibly have ended up making more money and making a bigger company.
Yeah. But, we can argue the fact that mindfulness is an investment in yourself, right?
Yeah.
So marketing is an investment in your company. Yeah. Mindfulness and, the work that you do is an investment in ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is.
Yeah, particularly for entrepreneurs, because you are the business. If you can't work, you can't think clearly. That's the equivalent of if you're a baker, your oven breaking down and you can't cook. I mean, it's that serious. If you're only your business is only as healthy as you are as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, 100%. And what I love about that is, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, let's say you're a CEO, let's say you're a COO, you're in the C-suite, you have a high profile, job. If you're a mess, one of my other guests said it, if you're a jerk in real life, you're going to be a jerk in your business, right? So when we do the work on ourselves, that comes out in our business. And when we invest in ourselves, I mean, here's the thing, one of the people that we were on a call with, was like, I feel guilty to take the time, to do this for myself. And I'm sure my wife probably feels like that on some level. But the whole thing is you need to invest in yourself.
Yeah. Because
we have, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you can have a team or whatever. But if it starts at the top.
Yeah.
So if you're unhealthy, your organization is going to be unhealthy because all of that toxic crap that's in you is going to filter down. I mean, it all, comes down from the top, right? So, but if you're in this place of mindfulness and, calm, and you can make decisions proactively instead of reactively, and you can come from a place of empathy, I think it changes everything.
Yeah, you've got much more focus, much more clarity. You're far more productive as well. If you're being mindful, you're far more likely to understand what's the most important thing for me to do, the most important task, and you're more likely to get it done. And a lot of these are the skills we need as entrepreneurs to be able to make those decisions for ourselves, to know which direction, what decisions we want to make. When I work with people, a lot of the time it is they haven't got enough confidence in themselves to make decisions. If that's you as an entrepreneur, that's going to cripple you.
Yeah. So for those listening, and I know the answer to this, and I would, recommend you like 1,000 times over. Why should somebody who's listening, who's considering mindfulness, use you as opposed to somebody else?
I'd say probably because I've had a wide range of experience. I understand a lot of the stresses and strains in the business world and doing things like bringing up children. And so I've got a lot of empathy with people for that and can share my personal experience. But also the fact I've done all the legwork for this. I understand that nowadays people haven't got time to spend hours learning this. They don't need to know why mindfulness works. They just need me to tell them how it works and to give them the tools to actually make it work. I can remember at university, one of my favourite lecturers, he told us that he was going to teach us the most important skill we would ever gain in our life, and that was to distill information. And he did, he taught us it well, because he used to throw all these massive papers at us every week and make us read the whole thing. And then he used to test us on it every single week. So we became really good at taking huge amounts of information from different sources and distilling it down into the most important information. And that's what I aim to do for my clients. I try and take all the teaching from mindfulness, mindset, business coaching, health and wellness, and actually then look at what can I do? How can I apply this to your life and your situation right now and make it better and give you the benefits without you having to spend hours and hours learning it. So I do the legwork and you get the benefits.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. From my experience working with you, I haven't worked with mindfulness coaches before, but I have worked with people who kind of do what you do, and there's just no comparison. There's just no, you come from a place of, like you said, of experience, and you have this understanding of the human spirit. I think that a lot of people don't. You can kind of tap into that frenetic energy, and you can tap into, I know, God, how many sessions have, we come in and I was like, I need a minute, because I'm just like, everything was like so crazy.
Yeah.
And, for those of you who don't know me and who think I'm high energy now, you should have seen my ass 2.5 years ago, because it was like, and I remember a couple of times I was going to cancel, and I was like, no, I need to do this. And I came in and I was like, okay, I am like bats today. So, and you were like, okay, then we talk a little bit, and then you're like, okay, and then we would go into the meditation, but it took a while, but you also knew that, we weren't going to go right into a meditation the second I walked in there.
No.
That it was going to take me time to kind of come down a little bit.
Empty the words out your head. Yeah. And I think that is a people, and I think that's what I love more than anything. I love people. I love connecting with people. I love reading people. I love behavior. That's why I wanted to study economics and marketing. That was all about behavior of people, what makes people buy things and do things and behave in a certain way. And I've always loved connecting with people and reading them. And so this is just fun for me.
Yeah, and you're just so good at it. It's like, if anybody can calm me down, you need to be working with Diane. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But
the fire in your belly, because that's what makes you so amazing, and that's what makes you you. And I think you never want to lose that. But if you could burn it out, you would lose it, because you'd lose some of that energy. So this is a really good way of keeping that energy really high, but still sort of manageable. Because I think it's a fantastic quality to have, and that's what keeps you motivated and keeps you achieving so much. So it's not about changing you at all. That's never anything that I would have ever wanted to have done.
Yeah, and I felt like I was like, I need to change something. You're like, no, you just need to calm the hell down. You need to, you need to settle.
It's using it though, isn't it? It's using that, because it's very difficult to do the other way. If you get someone that's got no go about them and they're actually really subdued, it's really difficult to get someone to work up. So actually it's easier to detune.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, whatever you've done with me has worked. So, and I'm still we're all a work in progress, as we were talking about before. Like, if you guys could have been a fly, what we may end up doing is, because there's so much stuff that we do before we actually start, recording, usually before and after, we may just do some behind the scenes or some things that you guys haven't seen. So you can see the real insanity that goes into making this, and the real insanity that is me. But really, I mean, I come from this very, I have ADHD. I don't take medication for it because I tried it once and it made me a zombie, and it literally took me out of the equation. I remember my doctor said, okay, you have ADHD. I'm going to put you on this stuff. And I took it, and I met a friend of mine for lunch, and she said, are you okay? And I was like, yes. Why? And she's like, you're really talking slowly, and are you sure you're okay? And I was like, no. And I remember, I went home because I had 2 more meetings scheduled for that day, and I didn't want to do them because I wasn't myself. I completely, and I called my doctor, and I was like, I don't know what that was, but I think it was Adderall or something. I don't know, but I'm not ever taking it again. And she said, you may lose your focus. I was like, I've been going this many years without it, and I've been doing just fine. So, okay. So the last question that I ask everybody is, what lights your fire? What's the one thing that just fires you up? And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be, it's just the one thing that just kind of, your main passion. What is that?
Connecting with people, just being with other people, connecting with them, and just chatting with them, loving them, being loved. I think that's what we're all here to do, and building memories from that. Because I have this theory that the one thing we can take from this world is memories. And actually, I want to be taking with me some really great memories. And I think that's probably is where the heaven and hell comes from. Heaven is when you take with you lots of positive memories and continue to enjoy those rather than all the negativity. And the main memories I have, when I look back in my life, the memories I have are of connecting with other people. And that's what I love doing, that feeling of being with people and just having fun and enjoying their company, preferably over nice food and wine, traveling, meeting old friends out in nature. I met my old school friend yesterday, and we went walking around these woods, and that's amazing. Connected, there's nothing more special than connecting with old friends as well. So yeah, that's definitely what lights my fire, and that's why I think my purpose, the reason I am here, is to connect with people, to love and be loved. And if I leave this world knowing I've done that, I will be so happy.
Wow, that's why I love you so much. Is you're just you do connect, and you don't just connect with the person, you actually connect with, I feel we're soul connected. I feel like, when we first met, we had that instant, it was okay, we're, going to be friends for life. You're going to be in my life forever. I already know this, but you connect on such a different level than other people do. And I think that's phenomenal. So, cool. Thank you so much for doing this and for being here.
Love speaking to you. I could sit and just all day.
I know. I'm looking and I'm like, oh, it's an hour and 4 minutes. Shit. I mean, we're going to edit it a little bit, but so people don't. But it's like the only thing missing right now is wine, right?
Yeah, no. And it's nearly wine time
here. So 10 a.m. here with my coffee and do you have your wine or are you drinking water?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I'm on water, but it is 25 past 4, and I'd say 5 o'clock.
It's almost 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So in the Midlands. So, so thank you again, and I will see you at our session next week because I do a weekly session with Diane. I'm going to encourage everybody who's listening to this, go to, was it timetoflourishuk.co? Yep, there it is on the screen. Go, read up about Diane, schedule a 15-minute call with her, or, whatever it is. You won't be sorry. It has been one of the best investments in myself that I've done. And it makes a huge difference. And plus Diane is so lovely that, that's just an added bonus. So I want to thank everybody again for, hanging out with us. And it's really, it's heartwarming that you guys are watching or listening. I know sitting down and watching, an hour, podcast is a lot. But, taking the time to listen and spending the time with us is so very important to me. So I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. So I'm going to sign off for now. Iris Goldfeder. And, go out and find what lights your fire. Till next time, everybody. See ya.